Hi, everyone, and thanks for coming to hear the demo on Reel. So what is Reel? Well, I set out back in 2015 to look at replacing these things that are called learning management systems. In actuality, I believe they have very little to do with learning. And really, they are content management systems. They're a place for professors to take their content and post their content so that their students can get access to their PowerPoints, their PDFs, links to quizzes, and they can get access to that anytime, anywhere. But there is rarely, very any data that comes back to the educators telling them how they're actually learning from the content that is posted in these management systems. So they're content management systems, and I'm building a true two-way data learning management system called Reel. So, like I said, when I first came to understand what I wanted to build, I was super frustrated about these things not allowing me to see which topics my students are struggling with. Are they struggling with microbiology? Maybe they're struggling with biochemistry. What learning objectives are they struggling with? Are they struggling with cardiovascular physiology? Or are they struggling with DNA transcription or translation more than they are the Krebs cycle? These systems, these learning management systems, Canvas, Blackboard, and Moodle, had no ability to be able to help me see that data when I started working with students. And another issue that I was struggling with was that students were using these outside question bank platforms, UWorld, ScholarRx, Lecturio, Amboss. They're great systems, don't get me wrong. They have great questions, videos, all of that. But as an educator, I was not able to see what my students were struggling with because I didn't have access to them, number one. Number two, all of these platforms, none of them were actually mapped to my particular curriculum. So if a student goes in and takes a quiz, the questions might not match the order of what I teach cardiovascular physiology. They might get microbiology questions before I teach microbiology. They might get pathophysiology, pharmacology, immunology. They might get any of those topics, and I haven't even taught them that information. They might even get a clinical case like signs, symptoms, and I haven't even taught that. They might get lab values. They might get imaging. All of those things are built into these platforms that are not mapped to the curriculum that I'm currently teaching them. So I built a question bank into Reel that is specific and mapped to learning objectives. I also differentiated first year course material or the normal course material versus the pathophysiologic, the pathology course material. So a lot of pathophys is taught in second year or taught in the second half of an organ system. And so I wanted to make sure there were enough questions that were either in the first half of the curriculum in the preclinical sciences or in the first half of an organ system when they're trying to build the foundation of normal. The big thing that I was really struggling with was this idea that students were buying these platforms out of pocket, spending anywhere from $180 to $300 a semester on these platforms. And what I'm trying to build is a platform that can replace these learning management systems or these content management systems, therefore giving a QBank that is mapped to a student's curriculum by day, as well as being free. So students will hopefully take off the reliance of having to spend hundreds dollars, if not thousands of dollars every year on these QBank platforms, and they can take quizzes built right into the learning management system itself called Real. Also, all of the data for these QBank platforms is readily available for medical schools, for the faculty, for the leadership. And because it's mapped to the curriculum, this allows you to take a look at what is happening within the curriculum, where the challenges are, how to improve, and it's readily available data for the school as well as the faculty. So one of the things that I really wanted to set out was, can I prove if learning is happening? And so what I'm not trying to do is replace all these QBank systems that are out there. I don't believe that they're doing what we need as an educator. They're trying to now become a part of the curriculum, but they're always going to be outside of the curriculum. They're going to be an adjunct to the curriculum. They're not going to try and be this learning management system that uses machine learning, natural language processing, optical character resolution, and bringing those things to bear and mapping them to the curriculum. That's not really their job. They were all built for one specific reason. Step 1 and step 2 preparation exams. That's it. They were not built to actually drive learning within the curriculum. They were actually built to just do step prep and get students ready for these exams, and therefore they're trying to catch up with that kind of a process. All right, so one of the things that I need to build into Real is a learning management system. I will show how that's done, and it comes out of the 4 years of my doctoral work in School of Education, learning the evidence in what makes effective education. So imagine if your LMS, your current LMS, your content management system, as I call it, Canvas, Blackboard, or Moodle. Imagine if it included all of these things. It included flashcards. It included curriculum mapping. It included a data lake so that all of your students' progress data, their achievement data, their exam data, their quiz data, their formative quiz data, all of that data was included in one single database, a central database, and it was completely open and accessible by you, by the school, by the faculty, and we can build a dashboard, we can build reports, we can build at-risk student profiles, we can use all of that data to do prediction analytics to find out who might be struggling and who might need to be intervened on. What if it had an exam management software program like ExamSoft or something like that? What if it includes something like SurveyMonkey so you could do qualitative research so that you could also collect not just the quantitative side of things, but also the qualitative side of the educational experience? And it had content in it. It had its own QBank. It had lecture videos that you could choose, that you could upload your own, or you could choose from a library of lecture videos that were already there. And then what if it also had a formative quiz platform, something like Secretin or some other kind of thing? All of those things built into one learning management system is what Real is, and it's all driven by having a central database for real-time and longitudinal risk stratification using machine learning, natural language processing algorithms, and predictive analytics. So let me show you how Real is accomplishing this. So this is my dashboard, my student dashboard as a student in Real. And you can see that I have 3 organ system courses here. On the left-hand side, these big tiles. I also have 248 questions. You can see that all of them are unlocked, and that is because every one of the question has a family, genus, and species, or an ontology for that question. And that family, genus, and species would equal foundation would be the family, maybe ethics would be the genus, and then maybe autonomy or non-malfeasance would be the species. So another example for GI would be the family. Maybe the genus would be microbiology. And then maybe we would be talking about the species of microbiology, which would be C. diff, right? Like Clostridium difficile. And so each multiple choice question has a family, genus, and species. It's mapped to a student's a learning objective on the syllabus. And every single day when a learning objective is taught within the syllabus, because it's mapped, it will become unlocked, which means it's unlocked and it's available for them to take a quiz. Now, I build quizzes. You can see here on the right-hand side, I build quizzes for students and they receive them automatically every single day. This one has 15 questions. The quiz has not started. I got it at 8 o'clock this morning. It's going to retire at 2 o'clock in the morning. And it's driven by a machine learning space retrieval algorithm that has been proven in multiple different studies in the cognitive sciences. It was done by Kerfoot in neurology residents at Harvard and a couple other studies. And so I have built my own space retrieval algorithm, and we've proven it out over 5 semesters at a fairly large medical school. So imagine, if you will, I click on my course tile, and now here's the syllabus. The syllabus is electronic. So what it allows me to do is to put all the kinds of hyperlinks to book material, and I can keep track of how many students clicked on these book material to see whether or not they're reading or if they're not reading. And I can go through all this material and I can get to the actual course schedule. So let's imagine on the very first day of the curriculum, I have this lecture. It happens to be an ethics lecture, and it's on the introduction of medical ethics. Let's scroll down a little further, and then we go to the second day. At this time, I have another live lecture in ethics, and here are the goals for this lecture, and here are each individual learning objective, as well as each individual topic that is related to this learning objective. So before I talked about the family, genus, species. So let's say that this is foundations is the family, ethics is the genus, and then species might be autonomy, or it might be non-malfeasance or justice. And so if you see here in the learning objective includes several different species. And so what I should be able to do as a student is I should be able to come here and click on the learning objective, and every quiz question that has been mapped to this learning objective is now available for me to take. And so as you can see here, I have one quiz question mapped to this learning objective, and I can go through and specifically take this quiz question and submit it. And then it gives me the quiz review page, and I can unlock all of the answer explanations. We are now working on putting in micro videos, so there will be a button here the next time that I do this that will have a 2 to 3, maybe 5-minute at the most explanation by video of this question, so that it helps students dissect the question. Now, you might ask why all of these are closed when a student goes into them. Well, this is a learning management system. I want to make sure that a student uncovers all of these so that they read not only the correct answer explanations, but the incorrect answer explanations. And I can capture that data. I can capture the data and say that just like I would in healthcare, a blood pressure and a heart rate, would tell me something about the cardiovascular health. Well, if I look at a student doing quizzes, are they looking at all of the answer options and the explanations, as well as maybe they're reading a video? And so that is getting towards engagement. That is telling me, are the students using the full complement of what is available? And it's letting me know their, if you can, achievement or progressive health rather than cardiovascular health. They would be their achievement health and getting to engagement. Another thing that I think is important for this kind of algorithm is more data to feed into the algorithm. I did not get this question correct. And so it's very important for me to notate why I didn't get it correct. Did I not read the lead-in correctly? Did I not know the material? Was I confused by the question stem? As well as being able to quickly make a flashcard. I can quickly make a flashcard here on the front, and this would be the back, put it in a deck, and then you can see that now, because if I'm writing a flashcard about the correct answer option, it is mapped to a learning objective. If I am writing about the incorrect answer option, because that's what I was confused about, then I can change the learning objective and I can put it in for 1.5 and then select 1.5. What this allows me to do now is to create flashcards that are also mapped to learning objectives. Why is that important? Well, like I said, I want to know that learning is happening. So when my students are taking flashcards, they are mapped to a student's learning objectives. I will show you in a few minutes how this can produce data to look at students' lowest performing learning objectives. On top of that, I also have the ability for faculty to make flashcards for students so that students can download them. They're mapped to learning objectives, and we can implement those into each learning session and be able to help streamline students' learning and be able to support them in how they're going through and using the material. So, like I said, this becomes a living, breathing document for students. Not only can I look at quizzes, but if there is a video that's associated or mapped to this learning objective, because not only every quiz, but every video and every flashcard should also have a family, genus, species, and being mapped to the learning objective and the syllabus. So if I want to watch a video here and I want to do that on this learning objective because it's been mapped there, then I can just click on that video and watch that video based on this learning objective. So it shouldn't be a 45-minute video because it's only one single learning objective. It would be a micro video, anywhere from 3 to 5, maybe 7 minutes at the longest if it's a very long learning objective. I should also be able to click here and do flashcards that are all mapped to that learning objective and go to the learning management system. So you can see up here in this top corner right here, I have built in a learning management system that mirrors some of the other systems that are out there. And I'll show you a little bit what that looks like. But if I have a learning session built into the learning management system, I can click on that. And let's say that I have built in an entire learning session about autonomy. Well, autonomy should be mapped to this learning objective. And so a student can very quickly get very targeted information by clicking on that LMS component and go directly into reading about autonomy, reading about justice, beneficence, non-malfeasance. And then if I want to hone in on each and every topic or each and every species, then the same kind of information is available here as well. So I can get a quiz question, I can get a video, flashcards that are mapped only to autonomy if that's what I'm struggling with. If that's what my data says I'm struggling with, then I can make that happen. As I'm going through this, I can then check off that I've done these, that I've done well, I feel confident about them. And it notates that this goal I have covered. And then what I'm hoping is that the goal that has been covered also maps to not having my low performing learning objectives. All right. So let's think about the flashcards. So if I go ahead and I take a quiz and I create a flashcard and I map it to a learning objective, I select it and I put it into a certain deck, this is where it will show up. This is my flashcard deck. You can see here that I can open up, and this would be the front of the flashcard. Where is my medial malleolus? I then, just like some of the other flashcard platforms that are out there, I actually use a self-reported confidence level to run the space retrieval algorithms. And, you know, if I have no idea, then it should come sooner versus I actually know this material. And then flip the back of the flashcard. And so then I can look here and it will show me where the medial malleolus is, helping me understand that technical information. And this is an anatomical kind of card. But I also add more information here for analytics, the self-reported accuracy level, because that should also be driving the space retrieval algorithm. Did I completely remember it? Did I remember it with a hesitation? Did it take me serious effort to remember it? Did I totally miss this concept? All of that data should be available in there. All right. So as I'm building out these flashcards, one of the things that I might want to do is if I work with other students or I work with other faculty or maybe even my tutors, I can then share my flashcards with other students. So I can click on collaborate mode, I can put in my email, and then I can actually share them directly with other students. So one of the things that I have found over time is that students work well on collaborating. And if you give them the ability to look at the learning objectives and choose, I will take learning objective 1 through 5, and then the other student will take learning objective 6 through 10, and then they can quickly build flashcard decks. They can get these flashcard decks out and they can start learning from them much quicker. One of the other components is that there is a community page. And so what I've built into this is the ability for students to be able to post their flashcards to a community page. So if you look here, here is the community page. And you can see here that there are decks, there are videos, and students should be able to, as well as faculty, should be able to post their flashcard decks here and download them and, you know, be able to share those resources, be able to split the amount of time that is made to creating these flashcard decks. This way, you're getting flashcard decks that are built specifically for your curriculum, not like other flashcard companies that have built 10,000 flashcard in their flashcard decks, but none of them are mapped to your curriculum. So you can see here in the first 3 weeks, I might download these 35 cards that are on carbohydrates, lipids, and water. You can see that here is the front of the card, the flat back of the card, so I can see what's in the deck. And you can see here they've been downloaded 116 times, been viewed 119 times, and there's actually a student comment here saying, thank you, very helpful. And so this kind of works like and then there's, you know, likes on here. And so it works like a community social media type page. And you can post videos as well as flashcards. All right, so one of the things that I wanted to touch upon was the LMS. Now you saw that there was a place on the syllabus for the LMS to actually link up with the syllabus. And here is an example of what an LMS learning module can look like. This is one that we built on human immune system. And there is retrieval practice built into this. There's given the learning objectives for this learning session. And then there is information that you might have about this learning session, and then you can type in different kinds of knowledge checks. So this would be an open-ended type question, and then you would submit it. It would say incorrect, and you're capturing all of these data as students are working through your learning session, your LMS session, and we're able to then map all this data, map all these learning objectives. So you could imagine that if the syllabus was about the human immune system, this session right here would have a family, genus, species, and each component would map to the different parts in the learning in the syllabus. So when a student clicks on that link in the LMS in the syllabus, it would take them directly here to these different components, right? Innate immunity, adaptive immunity. And when we cover those topics in the LMS, they will be mapped to the syllabus, and the syllabus can then just be clicked and the student go directly there. You can see that they can do multiple choice questions. And then when we're talking about adaptive immunity, this is where it would be mapped to, like click on the syllabus and it would take me directly to adaptive immunity. We have open-ended questions, and then we also have the ability to do matching type questions as well. And within this LMS, we will be inserting videos. And like I said before, each video will have its own ontology, its own family, genus, species, mapped to the syllabus, so that if I want to talk about the cells in immunity, in the immune system, or there is a learning objective about lymphocytes, then this, when I click on the syllabus as a student, it will take me directly here to this video, and I can watch this short video on understanding lymphocytes. As you can see, you can build in and create all different kinds of graphics, engagement, videos, all different kinds of things, causing this to be a true learning management system because there are knowledge checks. We're now building the chunking, the video chunking modality to be able to set smaller chunks of videos within the LMS, and in between that, be able to have multiple choice questions available as well. All right, so what does all of this matter? Well, what we're trying to do here is, this is a demo group that I created. These are all individual students, R21 Robinson, R20 Robinson, 25, 22, 23. So they are individual students. And you could imagine that they have been assigned to a faculty member here, Sharita. And if I want to look at, in semester 1, the low performing learning objectives from August to October, then I can switch to the groups and I can come here and look at overall, this is the lowest performing learning objective for this entire group of students. And if I want to look at the 16 questions that have been mapped to that learning objective, I can click on this learning objective as a faculty member, and I can scroll through and see all of the questions that are available. Now, what I can do is I can use this material one-on-one with my students, because if you look down here, if I look at 12.2 being the lowest performing learning objective, it is the lowest performing learning objective for this student, R20, R21, R25, and R22, and R24. So whenever I'm meeting with R21, 20, 25, 22, and 24, I can click on their low performing learning objectives, and I can go through each and every one of the questions and find out what is the student challenged by. Is it a content issue? Is it reading the question STEM that's the problem? Is it understanding what the question lead-in is actually saying? How do students attack and dissect a question? I can work on exam and quiz taking skills. This section up here is for all of the students that I'm responsible for. So for instance, if I am in charge of a small group of 5 students, then now I am armed with data when I go in to talk to these students, which multiple choice questions they're struggling with before I even start my learning session with them. So I can hone in on these questions, I can hone in on the challenging topics, and this allows me to be able to be very targeted. It also allows me to see who did not take any of these multiple choice questions or any of the flashcards. Oh, I forgot to mention, this is the low performing learning objectives across everything. So across quizzes, flashcards, self quizzes, educator quizzes, all of those things. If I only want to look at spaced learning quizzes, then I just click on looking at spaced learning quizzes. And so I can look at the low performing learning objectives for just the spaced learning quizzes. And this allows me to look at those spaced learning quizzes only. If I want to look at flashcards, now I haven't done any flashcards, I don't think. But if I want to look at the low performing learning objectives from flashcards, it should say like no data, I believe. Then I can do that, and I can start to stratify all of my data for flashcards. Oh, I did. Okay, great. So these are all of the opportunities for me to look at. So what is a self-quiz? Well, when a student comes in to taking a quiz, they can actually, just like every other Q bank that's out there, they can create their own quiz. This is what I call a self-quiz. So they can come in here, they can add the quiz name, they can choose which organ system, or if they're doing all organ systems, they can choose up to 60 questions. They can do tutor mode or not, quiz mode or test mode, or they can do it timed or not timed. They can choose the number of minutes. Then they can choose what topics, as well as the disciplines, and then they can choose which ones are available, unused. And then if they create that quiz, they will then get a quiz based on what they've chosen. So they might be trying to get ready for an exam and study for the exam. And so that allows me to be able to stratify their data by their self-quizzes. Well, what is an educator quiz? Well, it's nice when students are given pop quizzes, or they're given quizzes within a small group, or they're given quizzes set up by the educator. And so this is the ability to send, for educators to send out formative quizzes. So that would be here, and this is what it would look like. So you could imagine I sent a quiz to my student. I only had one student in my group, and it was 11 questions. And imagine if I had 10 students, and there were 10 students taking this quiz with 11 questions, and I'm sitting in the room with them while they're taking the quiz, and I can see as they submit an answer in real time, I can see that they skipped question 1, but they answered question 2 incorrectly. They answered question 3 correctly, answered question 4 incorrectly, and so on. So I can actually see in real time which students are not getting which quiz questions correct. And then if I want to click on the quiz question itself, I can click on the quiz question itself, and I can see what the quiz question is about. If I want to click on this and see who got what incorrect, live, in real time, I can see which answer option they chose, not just if they got it correct or incorrect, but all 10 of my students would have their answer choices shown here so that I can help them learn. I can ask them why they chose the answer that they chose. This now becomes a learning management system that can be used in real time in the classroom and to help students actually do well and perform better. So you can see here that Natalia actually got question C correct, and it shows that. So each and every one of the questions would show that information. So for now, I think I'll leave it at that. I hope to have some interaction with you and some lively discussions. If you have more questions, please reach out to me. My name is Ray Robinson, and I am the founder of Wheel. Thank you.